Good afternoon, and welcome here. My name is Cindy Friesen, and I'll be the host for this afternoon's session. You're in the chapel, and the breakout session for this hour is titled Discussion on Reconciliation Between Indigenous and Non-Indigenous Peoples. Before I introduce our presenters, I want you to know this session is being live streamed to our satellite sites in Quebec, Ontario, Manitoba, and BC. It is also available to everyone who has registered and downloaded the Mission Fest Manitoba app, so please know your image may appear on the live stream broadcast. And if you don't absorb all the content in this session, the video of each session will be available after Mission Fest is over on our YouTube channel. Our presenters today are Todd and Krystal Wawrzyniak and Kene and Milly Jackson. Before joining Indian Life Ministries as the director team in 2020, Todd and Krystal were serving alongside the untouchable people in Nepal, sharing the love of Jesus. Kene Jackson is the director of the Native Evangelical Fellowship of Canada, and together with his wife Milly, they are Native gospel musicians traveling coast to coast, spreading the good news of Jesus Christ in Indigenous communities. Please give Todd, Krystal, Kene, and Milly a warm Mission Fest Manitoba welcome as they come to present.
Thank you, Cindy. Well, hi, everybody. Fantastic to be here and to be able to present this wonderful topic. Well, hopefully, everybody will learn something today. I know my wife and I, we learn things new every day. And I even learned this morning that if you forget your wallet and ask your wife for her debit card and you go grab the debit card out of the wallet, that you should probably check before you go to the Tim Hortons checkout to make sure you have the right debit card. I went through the drive-thru, pulled out the card. Oh, this is a Staples card. I'm sure that's happened to all of us, right? So drove back, and we eventually got it together. So, my name's Todd Wawrzyniak. This is my lovely wife, Krystal. Up there on the screen, you see our son, Connor, who is 17, and daughter, Hannah, who is 16. And we live in Alberta, Canada.
I have to give, I'm sorry, I don't remember your name, whoever the one that was just introduced us to come up here. Cindy, thanks, Kene. Wawrzyniak is a handful, and we recognize that. There's more consonants than vowels in my now last name. Mm-hmm. Thanks, hon. And anyways, the way that you say it is we fight wars on our knees, and we act. So drop the T, Wawrzyniak. If you can go to the previous slide with Kene and Milly Jackson, he's going to introduce him and his wife, Milly.
That is an awful picture of me. I look pretty kind of a shady guy or something. But hey, my name is Kene Jackson. My wife, Milly, is at the back there. Milly, can you stand up or give us a wave or something? All righty. And we're from the Goodfish Lake Native Reservation in northeastern Alberta. And that's kind of where the heart is. We live just north of Calgary right now, and just a little bit south of Three Hills, about 20 miles. 32 kilometers or something like that. But Milly and I have been working in Native Ministries since, shortly after we got married. Went to Bible school, and we ended up in gospel music and worked in that for quite a number of years. And then Tribal Trails for a couple years, hosted and did some program consultancy, script writing, stuff along that line. But after that, we joined up with Native Evangelical Fellowship of Canada, and that was in 1990. And I guess it was in 93, we took over as in the leadership there, and I've been director, 1993 to 2001, and then I don't know how you say this, but you know when, okay, you know how you're wired. And the way I'm wired, when things are a challenge and that, I'm wired that I'm fairly effective. When things get to be in a maintenance role and things are going good, my effectiveness sort of takes a nosedive. And so that was where I was at in 2001. And so I took on another directorship with the Freedom River Counseling Group, subsidiary of Native Evangelical Fellowship, and was there in that post until 2012 when I was asked to come back on in the role of executive director again. So I've been there since, and I don't know, it's now getting any easier. So I don't know if I'm going to be effective or not. But my wife is in the back there. She's been my music partner and keyboard player and my encourager for many years. And we celebrated 43 years this December 29. So that's her anyways at the back. Okay. Krystal, you ready to say something?
Next slide, please. It's you, Kene. You're talking about NEF.
Okay, I didn't realize I was next there. Okay, Native Evangelical Fellowship of Canada, as the slide would suggest, is a fellowship of evangelical Native churches with the goal of fulfilling the Great Commission among our Native people. NEFC turned 50 years old 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, and will be 52 this April. So that's kind of how long we've been around. There's 18 Native churches that are affiliated in some way with us, and we have a small ministry team, about 13 people, and yeah, that's kind of the heart of what we are and how what we focus on. The hub of it all is those churches. And we also are into radio. We got 24 radio stations, repeater stations across Canada, from Quebec over to BC, or if you're in BC, it's BC over to Quebec. And so that's kind of part of what we do. We run the Freedom River Counseling Group, which is a little bit different, a freelance group that it's pretty fluid, but the last couple of years it's been really on hold because of the, well, lockdowns and all of that kind of stuff. So that kind of thing, we run a lot of conferences, and just going right now, we've been at 4 conferences for the past while, past 10 years, I guess. And then this year, we're coming up to probably 6 conferences. So, and looking at more. The latest thing that we've, oh, there's even info up here. Okay.
He's talking like he wasn't, you helped put this.
Sorry, yeah. We're involved in Bible camps, youth events, a lot of gospel music. Indian Life Ministries, we're partners with them. And we got 38 licensed clergy. What else here? The last one that we've gotten involved in is a partnership with Family Life Canada and Indian Life Ministries, and putting on the Indigenous couples getaway. We just finished our second one. First one was in Red Deer, Alberta, and the second one ended up here in Winnipeg, in eyeshot of this building at the Holiday Inn South. Last weekend we were there. We had a great time, and it was a really, really good getaway time. So that's a little bit about Native Evangelical Fellowship of Canada. Visit us at the booth if you want to know more information. And I'm going to give it over to these guys.
Well, thanks, Kene. And so I'd like to talk about Indian Life Ministries. Our corporate name is Intertribal Christian Communications, and underneath that is Indian Life Ministries. We've started in Winnipeg in 1979. And it was an American and a Canadian got together and created Indian Life Ministries. Actually, one of the founder's wife is here. Bessie McPeak is here. So she's still on our board. So hi, Bessie. Just give you a shout out. So yeah, since 1979, and our mission statement is to provide hope, healing, and honor to the Native peoples of North America through a saving knowledge of Jesus Christ. And there's a few ways in which we do that.
So we talk about Indian Life Ministries like an iceberg. On the surface of the iceberg, you see about 10% of what actually is the iceberg, right? 90% of the iceberg is underneath the surface of the water, and that's very similar to Indian Life Ministries. On the surface, Indian Life Ministries is a newspaper and publication company. We print a newspaper that comes out every 2 months, and it's filled with, half of it is positive Indigenous news and half of it is gospel truth. It is primarily written by Indigenous believers for all human beings. We target it to go out to, sorry, my brain just dropped that information. We send it, missionaries use it to reach out to Indigenous people. One free copy goes to every corrections institution in North America, friendship centers, band offices, tribal councils, hospitals, schools, libraries. Like, it goes anywhere that people exist, basically. We also have books. We have over 20 books that we have published that all share a encouraging story of restoring of hope, restoring of healing, or restoring of honor. Below the surface of that is, although that is important stuff up there, below the surface is what Indian Life lives in, if you will. Some of the things that we're involved in is a prison correspondence ministry, whereby we currently have 9 prison letter writers that correspond with Indigenous inmates across North America. We get about 300 letters a month from inmates looking to correspond with people. Our favorite letter is the shortest letter, and it literally says, "I gave my life to Christ, now what?" Like, the best letter ever. And we were like, we kind of have an idea of now what? And so we partnered them with one of our letter writers, and they've been corresponding with one another since then. We attend and host conferences. We've hosted now, Todd and I have been with Indian Life now for 2 years, and we've hosted 2 conferences. The first one was titled Let's Talk About Reconciliation, and the second one was The Gift of Reconciliation. We attend conferences with Kene and Milly Jackson. They keep us busier than busy, and it's great. We attend jamborees and tent meetings. Indian Life newspaper just partnered with the Native Youth Conference that hosts a youth event in Alberta, where by this past May, there was like 300 youth that came to this event in Camp Nakam in Alberta for the weekend, where they got to hear the gospel. They got to be youth, and they got to just play. And I don't know, do youth play? I have teenagers. If I said play to my daughter, she would roll her eyes or something. But yeah, hang out. Yeah, they hang out, Mom. And anyway, we've partnered with NEF and Family Life Canada to host amazing Indigenous couples getaways. We focus on discipleship. We have a partnership with the Emmaus Worldwide course that offers free correspondence courses to, specifically as far as partnership with Indian Life is concerned, Indigenous inmates, and they get to enroll in free Bible courses with the Emmaus program. We pray and focus on relationships with people, because without those relationships, where does that leave reconciliation? our topic is practical reconciliation. So let's talk about what the government says reconciliation is. Kene?
Okay. Just a basic definition by the Manitoba government, and we'll talk about that later. Reconciliation refers to the ongoing process of establishing and maintaining mutually respectful relationships between Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples in order to build trust, affirm historical agreements, address healing, and create a more equitable and inclusive society. Yeah, that's pretty good. Pretty good definition. I'm not going to argue with it, but that's the basic government definition.
Okay. Next slide, please. So, what is reconciliation as described in Scripture? That God was reconciling the world to himself in Christ, not counting people's sins against them, and he has committed to us the message of reconciliation. We are therefore Christ's ambassadors, as though God were making his appeal through us. We implore you on Christ's behalf, be reconciled to God. Ken, you want to add something?
All right, that's spiritual reconciliation. Where are we here? We just haven't practiced too much on this presentation, so just bear with us here. It's you now. Yeah, Krystal, it's you now.
Okay. You were looking at me like you had something to say, so I was like, take it away, Kene. You know what? Like, the four of us work together so much, and Kene and Milly talk and sing and lead worship together, and they have their groove, right? Todd and I present and talk, and we sing together, but not in front of people. And we have our groove, right? And then the four of us coming together, like, I don't even look at that as reconciliation or what that looks like, because we're just friends. Like, I don't know, I do something dumb and Kene lets me know, right? And it's just real, you guys. And Milly, we want her up here so bad. And she was sharing with us, and she gave me permission to share this, right? Do I still have permission? Yeah. She is struggling with not feeling like she should be up here. And she feels unworthy and like she doesn't have a place. And she doesn't want you to go talk to her about that afterwards. She doesn't. But she wants to talk to you, just not up here. Hey, Florence and Conrad. Hey, guys. It's nice to see you. And so yeah, it's real, okay? We were looking up what reconciliation looks like online a couple days ago, okay? Like, just to get some definitions. And we found something on Christianity Today, and it says that reconciliation assumes a broken relationship. When Indigenous and non-Indigenous people first met each other, there wasn't a broken relationship, right? There was no reconciliation that was necessary. But something has to happen that causes two parties to become estranged. The two might have been friends, it might have been a business relationship, or it might be as intimate as marriage. I mean, we love each other, but we've been kind of bickering, and we have had to be practical about reconciling that. So reconciliation isn't just this big picture idea. It's not the government's job. It's me, and it's you, and it's you, and it's you. Like, it's everybody in this room. It's all of our job. So what happens when there's a broken relationship and something has come between them?
Okay. I want to talk about, so I've been with Indian Life Ministries for 2 years, and some of you I think some of you do know our story. Krystal and I are missionaries, and we were going to Nepal, and that didn't happen, and God wanted us in Indian Life Ministries and Indigenous ministries in North America all along, we soon discovered. About early on in our walk, after COVID finished, we were able to start traveling a little bit. And I was kind of like, well, we're white people in an indigenous ministry. What on earth is that going to look like? And we were invited up to the Kikino Métis settlement up in northern Alberta. And we're still a little bit nervous, and we brought our trailer up there, and there was, NEFC was having a celebration up there. And so we're in the trailer, and we're waiting, and we're about just to come out, and there's a knock on the door. And Kene Jackson came to the door, and he's like, hey guys, come on in, we want to talk to you, we're having a meeting right now. And so we went in there, and there was 20 folks, indigenous folks, sitting around the table. And Conrad, who's here at the back, was there, and he's like, Todd and Krystal, first of all, we want to welcome you in to the community, welcome you to Indian Life Ministries, and we want you to know something, that your words are our words. We have your back. No matter what you say, you're representing us, and that's okay. And so, a little bit nervous going into that, but that was something that meant a lot to us.
What Conrad didn't know at the time is that we were super struggling with what our role in this Native ministry was going to look like. I mean, I even went to my mom one day and I was like, please, do I have any Indigenous blood? Like anything. And she's like, you're German and Polish, like, you've got nothing. I'm like, thanks, Mom. Right, but really it's like, we just felt like we don't have a place. Like, what are we going to do in Native ministry? But it was Kene that was like, you have a job with us if you want it. And then Conrad was like, we have your back, you're welcome. And like, you don't know how much that meant to us, Conrad. You do now. Like, it was impactful for us to know that you're welcoming us and like embracing us into your community. So thank you for that.
All right, you might be wondering who this mysterious Conrad is. Conrad and Florence, can you kind of stand up there? That would be okay. He wears many hats, this Conrad. As most of you would recognize him as the main host of Tribal Trails. And he's also with the Native Evangelical Fellowship of Canada. He's my boss. He's our chairman of the board. And in Indian Life Ministries, he's chairman of that board too. So he does wear a lot of hats. And just want to welcome him here today. Alrighty. Reconciliation involves forgiveness, but it goes beyond forgiveness. Just because one party forgives doesn't mean that the other one is going for it. Forgiveness can be one-sided, but true reconciliation really needs both sides to be able to participate in restoring the relationship. It's always possible and expected for me to forgive, but reconciliation won't be possible if the other party is not willing to participate. If you think back a bunch of years on the first attempts at church reconciliation with Indigenous peoples, and there was some denominations that would, they would send a young guy out, and a few tears. We're so sorry on behalf of so-and-so, this denomination, we want to say we're sorry. And the thing was, it's like after that, the attitude is, okay, I said I'm sorry. It's balls in your court now, and kind of like, it ain't that simple. It ain't that straightforward that that's going to work. It's got to be more than words, way more than words. And as we look at that kind of thing. You mixed up the schedule again, did you? Okay. Oh, his. Okay. What we're wanting to talk about today is reconciliation in the gospel realm. You know, I was sharing with somebody today, you know, I don't generally use the word Christian anymore to describe our church. I use the word, you know, even the whole word Christianity, it's hard to use it because it's got so much baggage attached to it that, okay, once I say, well, I'm a Christian, well, okay, I'm identifying with a whole bunch of people that I might not necessarily believe the same as, but they call themselves that too. So I use terms like believer and gospel and stuff along that line, Christ follower. I like that one. That's a good one. But things like that. So when we're talking about reconciliation today, it's in that realm, not in a government realm, not in even a person to person, but that's a huge part of it, but even as our response to the whole issue of reconciliation and the need for it in terms of the gospel community, the mission community, as far as you and I as Christ followers, how do we respond to that, and what does it mean to you and me? And that's sort of where we're going here in the whole terms of gospel outreach and missions, what reconciliation may look like. That's me. You changed it again. She's like that. Oh, her husband did it. Okay. He's got big shoulders. So, by the way, the hoodie he's got on. Can you flip up your thing there? All right. If you got anybody's got a camera, focus in on that. That there is the Intertribal Life logo. And not logo, what do you call it? Creator's Path. And it is it tells the story of salvation. They're available at, they're not supposed to sell things here, huh? Okay, $60 each or 2 for $100. Okay, but they're available at the Indian Life Ministries booth there. Okay, we talk about different ways that missions and you and I can get involved in gospel ministry. And we started to work, I guess it was about almost 2 years ago now, with Family Life Canada. And I'd heard about these guys before, you know, and I was really, how do you say, kind of honored when they invited us to one of their couples retreats in Jasper. And there was a number of our people that went. And afterwards, we met with some of the leadership. And we looked at, hey, is this reproducible in the native realm? Is this in the Aboriginal, Indigenous community? Is this something that we could look at to be of help? Something that our people could really grab a hold of, and it would be a valuable tool. So we, last June, right? June was our first Indigenous couples getaway. And we had that... It's not up there, is it? No, that's the right slide. Okay. Indigenous couples getaway. And it's something that is kind of a real foreign thing. And, I know Family Life was getting real worried because the pre-registration thing, that's something that's definitely not a cultural thing with our people, you know. Pre-registration, oh, no way, you know. And so they were getting pretty worried when we just had a limited number. And then, of course, you know, last 2-3 days, it just opened right up. So she's saying it's so stressful. Get used to it, okay? But we were able to partner with them in these 2 events already. The second one was here in Winnipeg last weekend. We had 18 couples that came to join us, and a lot of them from Manitoba, some from Saskatchewan, and Michigan. There was a 50th anniversary couple that joined us from Michigan. And the crowning touch was at the end of it. You know, there was this guy that come up to us. He says, I bought a ring. He says, I'm gonna propose. And so we invited him and says, we knew she was going to say yes, you know. That was not an issue. But I said, you want to do this up front? And so he said, I suppose so. Boy, he proposed to her. He got down, you know, and I'm not sure that was the right knee, but I'm not sure if I used the other knee if I can get up again. But he did the proposal thing, and it was really, really good. She said yes on the spot and started crying. And that was kind of a real great ending for that getaway. And we're really thankful for that partnership that's working, like with the experience of Family Life Canada, and the connections that we have, and the resource people. Conrad and Florence were 2 of the resource people. We had 2 other couples that were part of that. Millie and I were supplying the music. And that kind of stuff, it really pulled it all together. And working together is a real good picture of the whole area of reconciliation.
You're talking about working together, Kene, and I think of Conrad being the face of Tribal Trails, and I know you're so much more than that, Conrad. I honestly don't know what your titles are. I just know I see you on TV. And but what Tribal Trails does is it creates space for Indigenous followers of Jesus to share their story and to encourage other people. And I know from personal experience that they're not just sharing their stories with Indigenous people. They're sharing it with whoever's watching the TV, right? Whoever's listening on the radio, whoever's watching it on Facebook. And like was mentioned earlier, Conrad's on the NEF board and he's on the Indian Life board. Like, that's Indigenous people working with non-Indigenous people. And I kind of think that's a beautiful picture of reconciliation. There's this new division with Tribal Trails, and I don't know if I'm even allowed to announce it, but I'm going to say something, and it's called Generation Hope. And it's the same platform as Tribal Trails, but it's going to be with youth. So ages 15 to 33 are going to be given a platform to share their testimonies and their stories as they walk this journey with Jesus to encourage other people their age. I think that's a beautiful thing. So on the next slide, when we talk about, practical reconciliation, I want to think that we've already given you a couple of ideas of what that looks like. But what can a church do? I mean, they can get behind, I'm taking your stuff, Kene. They can get behind Native ministries, research them, and decide what best fits your church. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. You don't need to do something new. If there's a ministry that's doing something and doing it well, get behind them. Invest in them. Join them and volunteer.
That's right. Every church fellowship will have a different set of skills. every church fellowship will have a different diversity of people and ways that they can get involved in whatever. We got 10 minutes. Oh boy, that old clock again. We talked about our radio ministry just very briefly. I didn't say nothing about it, but we got 24 radio stations across Canada, and the last two, one that came up just before Christmas was in Cat Lake, Ontario, and before that, Kingfisher, Ontario. Kingfisher Lake. And looking at isolated places like that, being able to get in 24-hour gospel radio. And it's really something that is being used by the Lord, and we're glad to be able to be a facilitator of that. Setting up radio towers is not always everybody's forte. And as far as the engineering that goes into radio and setting up radio stations and stuff like that, even understanding that is definitely not my forte. So I'm glad, we got a few people that are able to handle that end of things, and we're looking for more. And things like setting up towers to be able to is something that is not something full-time. I mean, we maybe set up 2 towers a year, but it's something that is really, really needed and can be, when the station's up and kicking and everything's going, it can have a real powerful impact on these communities. I think about other ways that people have over time gotten involved in reconciliation. One of the early ways was going back to the Neufeld family. And there, I saw Carol here somewhere. I mean, she might not be here anymore, but she's somewhere here anyways. And up in Thicket Portage, one of the brothers was teaching. And they run across a young man named Fred Evans. And Fred was really wanting to go out and go to high school. He said, "Can I come and live with you and go to school?" And they lived in Niverville, just 40, I don't know how far from here, but down that, I think that's south, somewhere down there is Niverville. And so Fred went to live with them, and he finished school down there. And there was a few wild years after that, but Fred settled down, and he really became a powerful voice for Jesus. And he went to be with Jesus about 2.5 years ago, and we're just really thankful for that. And my wife, Millie, that's Fred Evans' niece. And she's, that's just part of the impact that was had there. But here was a family that was willing to let somebody come and stay with them. Not a foster situation, but just, hey, yeah, come live with us. And he went to school. Hey, that was good. That was good.
You're talking about that, Kene, and that's even where we're staying this weekend. While we're here, they're doing the same thing. They've welcomed somebody to come and stay at their house so that he can, an Indigenous guy, so that he can come and just get his feet on the ground and go to school and get a job and just do all those things. And so it's a beautiful picture. Yeah. Just quickly, before I hand this over to Todd, when we're talking about the Indigenous couples getaways, something that we have to understand is that residential schools were strategically designed to destroy families. So when I think of what a church can do or what an individual can do, which we'll talk about in a minute, is you can be strategic in supporting initiatives that support the rebuilding of families. like the Indigenous couples getaways. You can help sponsor people to go, or you can say, hey, church, there's one coming up. Can we sponsor the hotel for a couple that needs it the most? They make a difference. Like I've been at one of the two of them just because of a family situation, and like you guys, they make a difference in people's lives.
Yeah, and along with that, some of the other things churches can do is, in the line of sponsorship, is sponsoring Native youth to go to Bible colleges, to go to schools, or to go on mission trips. So that's another thing a church can really get behind as well. Krystal and I, through all the conferences that we were attending, we looked at each other one day and we said, hey, I think we can do this. So we actually hosted a conference on reconciliation. So in attendance in the conference, we had many Indigenous people and white Anglo people that really came together to hear a talk on reconciliation, which was hosted by an Indigenous pastor. His name's Mario Swampy from Asquithis. And then we did one just again in December. It was our second annual conference on reconciliation. The highlight of that was people getting together, sitting at a table, and talking about what reconciliation meant to us. So there was Indigenous and non-Indigenous, and we're just talking and listening and hearing. That is probably a very, very important thing to do, is to listen, to talk, and to get into relationships. Reconciliation happens one person at a time. So definitely, if your church is looking at doing things or doing initiatives, something like that would be, maybe talk to us about it. And we've been approached by a couple churches already to host conferences. So that is something that, I don't think we're experts yet, but bringing people together is so important. Now, the other thing, when I first started with Indian Life Ministries, the very first book I read was called White Man's Gospel by Craig Smith. So I was, really astounded by the wisdom in that book. And a couple things that popped out to me that I think might be practical here too is, first of all, when you're having a conversation with an Indigenous non-believer, a lot of times you're going to get, what my experience has been is, that white man's gospel, that's white man's religion. I don't want, and that's very hurtful, what happened. And the white man, came from Europe and all these things. And so that's the white man's gospel. And then the book points out that, well, first of all, Jesus wasn't white. He was from the Middle East. And, guess what? Jesus was also from a tribe of Judah. And it's kind of like, oh, okay. And it wasn't God that did all those things. It was man. Sin entered into the world. Satan came in, did all these things. And that wasn't God that did those things. That was the devil. That was the enemy. That was man. So it's a good place to start having a conversation. And I've been able to do that several times. And I was at one tent meeting, was able to pray with a young Indigenous man who came the next day and gave his life to Christ. So it's going out, it's meeting people, it's talking to people, reading the books. It's so important to educate, understand where the generational pain and suffering is coming from. That has been years and years and years, and now is, and with the power of Christ and God, we just rebuke that, and we just pray that we can start afresh and anew and move forward.
I don't know how many people were coming here to this session today thinking that there was going to be some type of magic. This is what you do. I know we didn't talk about this, but it just came to me as he was talking. We do, I know, it's simple. Talk to people. Be in a relationship with people. Don't be afraid to go up to Millie, to Kene, to Bessie, to Christine, who's in the corner, to Conrad or Florence, to anybody. Whether it's an Indigenous person or not, you want to reconcile with people, you want to experience practical reconciliation, don't be afraid to be in a relationship with people. If you want to find out more, if you want to continue the conversation, Indian Life has a booth right there and right behind us. NEFC has a booth. Come and talk to us. The next slide shows our contact information. Those are our credentials. You can get a hold of us. You don't have to feverishly write it down. Come talk to us. We'll give it to you. And you can sign up to receive our newsletters, guys. It's really not difficult. It's scary, but it's not difficult.
All right. She shuffled the deck again. But some of the things that we're talking about, yeah, okay. I have about that, I hope. One of the ways, we're over? Okay, I hope they can edit this. One of the things ways that you as a church, you as an individual believer, can help out in terms of Native ministries is to get involved financially. And one of the hard realities for Native people going into ministry is when you're looking for a support team, a support base, very few of us have any denominational background, any type of resources like that. And the churches in our Native Evangelical Fellowship, well, man, they're not exactly well heeled, most of them, and it's a very small base. When you as a church body or as a believer consider how can I get involved in Native ministries to take on supporting a Native missionary or take on supporting a Native ministry. We look at even these towers, the radio towers. Yeah, you can get involved in that. And we're just thankful for the ways that there has been people, and more so, getting involved in helping and in working together, in cooperation, in partnership, and in terms of reconciliation. That may not be the exact definition, but it goes a long ways toward making reconciliation happen. And I thank you for our time here today. I know Krystal went a little bit over, but we thank you for our time, and just really want to thank you for coming. We have a couple of booths back there. And Todd wants to say something.
Just, we want to have questions and answers, but please come outside, or I'll just hang out here. We can. There's another session coming, so we can't do that. But just come out to the booth. We're just right out here, and we'd love to hear from you if you have any questions. I'm not 100% sure we'll have all the answers, but we'll definitely want to hear from you. I just want to thank everybody for this opportunity, by the way. Thank you.